I'm not doing it. I'm not.
I can't do this. Welcome to another episode of Chats with Sweetie. Da-da-da, I'm sorry, guys. That took a lot. We were arguing who was going to do the chant today, but Belen apparently is not in a
Jingly mood.
In a jingly mood, baby. My sweetie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I just wanted to give you a nice, warm welcome back to Chats with Sweetie, episode 5 or 6, something like that.
7.
6, 7. Yeah, we're almost
7.
there. Almost there. Welcome, sweetie. Also, behind the keyboard, we have Sergio. And behind this microphone, and all you get is me, Alejandro. I'm sorry, everybody. Listen, here's the deal. This is what I want to start with right now, and there's no lying. Here's what happened to me this morning.
Oh, gosh.
I was getting ready to go work out, do my run, all that stuff. And I knew there was going to be high winds in the city of LA. I knew it. Because I got an alert.
I also warned you.
Because I got an alert, and there was a warning. You warned me. There's plenty of alerts, including my wife. And, I said, I'm going to get out early, getting ready, go I feed Tata, and then I go and do my usual. I go and smoke a bong, and I normally smoke a bong before working out. And
Breakfast of Champions.
It just serves me really well. And here's the deal. I ended up not being able to go run because it was so fucking windy. And now I'm all high because I can't, I'm not high, but I'm cloudy. I'm like, I'm like melting into cotton candy right now, sweetie.
Good for you.
That's what's happening right now.
Good. I can see it in your eyes.
So there's a lot of things to talk about today. Like, for example, number one, how is it? Because a lot of people can't understand this. They're like, does your wife let you smoke weed? So we'll talk a little bit about that to see if she lets me and allows me.
It's so weird.
Also, a lot of people apparently are surprised by the amount of time we've been together.
I am too.
So
this is news to us all.
It's just great, sweetie. Well, we're going to talk about how we've been able to make it through the ups and downs together through all these years. And we're going to talk about especially about my ups, not my downs. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to talk about why did we wait 7 years to get married after starting dating? I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory question. You got to get to know the other person that you live with for 7 years before, but I don't want to spoil anything.
Spoiler alert.
And last but not least, having pets in a relationship, it's pretty complicated sometimes. Let's talk about that. So for me, so for everybody that's listening, just make sure that you know that we're also on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Cast. We're pretty much on every single platform. If you want to watch the video or if you want to listen to us, we're there on iTunes. Everybody, thank you so much for the nice reviews that you're leaving on iTunes. It's pretty cool to see you guys supporting the the show.
And on YouTube.
Yeah, and on YouTube, lots of great comments.
Yeah, I would say they're all
positive. Yeah,
there's
pretty positive. Thank you guys. Always, but thank you guys. It's incredibly appreciated. And since I'm high, let's talk about this, sweetie. Do you have a problem with me smoking weed? And how did that whole thing started?
No, I don't have a problem with you smoking weed.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
You know that.
Well, a lot of people were wondering because I don't know what their wives let because it's not that easy. We know some people in relationships where the girlfriend, the wife doesn't let the other dude drink, smoke, nothing.
First of all, I don't think there's anything that and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never told you that you can't, this is your life. Unless you were shooting up heroin, I'd probably tell you not to do that. But you say not allowed, that's insane to me. Cause it's not like there's nothing, you don't allow me to do something and I don't allow you to do something. You know what I mean? So
yeah, of course.
I think it's strange that people put those restrictions on their partners.
But for example, what about cigarettes? What about people that smoke cigarettes?
Yeah. But that
that is a smell problem?
Well, and it's killing you.
Yeah.
So that alone is I guess this is perfect. You did smoke when I met you.
Now, why do we have to talk about me? I'm not talking about that smoking. I used to smoke cigarettes. That's true. It's quite
but
terrible.
It was for me, that was a deal breaker, but it was just if you want to kill yourself every single day by smoking cigarettes, that's on you. But with weed, it's that's something that, isn't, in my opinion, and obviously I know you agree, is harmful.
Yeah.
And for someone like you that for sure has ADHD,
no, I don't.
It's crucial for you to smoke weed.
It helps me out tremendously.
Because when he doesn't,
what happens?
you're just like at 100. It's like you're on like Adderall 24/7.
That's right, guys.
It's pretty painful.
A lot of people don't realize that. People think I'm, oh my God, he must be crazy when he's high. I am high. I am crazy when I'm not high. I am absolutely insane.
Yeah.
My mind goes a billion miles an hour. It's 100 million different things that are going on. I have so much energy, doesn't stop. I can't sleep. I mean, it's a disaster. Yeah.
Because I'm yawning. So no, I don't. It really.
What's your stance on it?
On weed?
Yeah.
I think it's great for people who enjoy it. I don't love it. For me.
What does he do to my sweetie?
Well, I'm starving, for one.
That's a pretty good thing.
And sometimes it's made me like paranoid. Like it's given me the spins, and I think a lot has to do just by my nature and because I'm anxious, so I overthink. But I don't mind being around it. I don't mind if like it's around, like if you're smoking, like it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me being in an environment where people are smoking. I think, I wish I could be on the level that you are, and like it would actually be beneficial for me because it would chill me out. But
yeah, but it's good. I mean, even with CBD and everything that comes from weed, like after Zoe, because we had a French bulldog that passed away from brain tumor. She had cancer in her brain, as I just said. And a friend of ours pointed us in the direction of CBD and seeing how CBD helped people with seizures and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was incredible to see that. And at that time, I realized like how many good things and positive things would come out of that.
Yeah. No, I love CBD. I take CBD every day.
Yeah,
Again, I don't have a problem with weed at all. In fact, I had a really traumatic experience.
With weed?
Well, with the olive oil that had THC in it.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty good story. Which, by the way, if you don't know what you're doing, don't go to a dispensary.
Do you know this story?
That's the number one tip I'll give everybody.
First of all, I was only going to a dispensary because you got lazy and you didn't renew yours, and I was going for you.
Thank you.
Like a good wife.
I don't understand why we got to say that, but
because you're saying if you don't know what you're doing, like you shouldn't go to a dispensary.
Ooh.
So.
Oh, foot and mouth instantly. Wow.
So
that feels nice.
had just moved to Hidden Hills, and it was May. I remember, and you were in Vegas, and right before you went to Vegas, I went to get you weed, and I remember when I was getting everything that you asked for, I was looking at the shelves and I saw olive oil. And I was like, wow, there's CBD in the olive oil. And the guy working was like, yeah, it's really good for you, whatever. And I was like, all right, well, Alejandro's always telling me to get more CBD, so I'm going to cook with it. So I buy it, whatever, I forget about it. And you go to Vegas, and I was home alone. So I decided to cook some like veggie pasta. And when you're cooking, you're generous with your olive oil. So I was really generous with my CBD olive oil. So I make dinner, I cook. I'm not a huge drinker, so it's not like I was having wine by myself. So I sit down, I obviously put on Sex and the City, and I'm sitting there and I eat my food. I have water, and I don't know, let's say 45 minutes go by. I don't feel well. The room starts spinning. I'm sweating. And I remember texting Jessica, who had just started. And I was like, hey, I don't feel well. I think something's wrong with me. And she was like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't be alone. Something's wrong with me. And she was, at the time she was studying. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't come over. Whatever. I was like, it's fine. I'll be okay. And then all of a sudden I start violently throwing.
Well, when did you message me or call me? I can't remember.
This is what I'm getting at. So I violently start vomiting. Violently. In the kitchen sink, I ran to the bathroom. The whole room has been, my heart is racing 90 miles per hour. I was like, hang on, I'm dying.
Did you have a glass of wine?
No, I just said I didn't drink.
Okay, not at all.
Not at all.
Okay.
that's what I just said. I don't drink.
Yeah.
Really rarely, and definitely not when I'm alone. So I was like, holy shit, something's super wrong. I need to go to the hospital. And so I called Jessica back, and I was like, I can't stop throwing up, whatever. So she was trying to figure out how she could get to me. And then I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to call him. Because I knew he was in Vegas. I knew he would try to come home, but it was like, what were you going to do really?
Yeah.
So I remember I called you and I was like, something's wrong. I cannot stop throwing up. The room is spinning. I'm too weak to drive myself to the hospital. And again, we had just moved to Hidden Hills. So
by the way, this was very dramatic, by the way. She's not like, listen, it was like, I don't know what's going on. Of
course it was fucking dramatic. I was vomiting everywhere.
I'm just making sure people know the tone of the call, because then the payoff will be pretty good. Go on.
Anyways, so we had no friends there. I didn't know our neighbors, and I it's not like I could have called now like Wendy and been like, take me to the hospital. So I called our dog sitter, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but like, is there any way that you could come here, because something's wrong with me and I can't drive myself to the hospital. So she was like in Malibu, and she was like, yeah, I can be there with like in 30 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, 30 minutes. That's so fucking far away. And by the time she got there, I don't think I fainted, but I was passed out in the bathroom.
Yeah, you were just asleep.
Like I was like, there was literally vomit everywhere, and I was so weak. So she got there, and I remember I was just like, please, like, let Alejandro know. Like, I couldn't go. I was so weak, I couldn't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Because she was like, get in the car. I was like, if I get in the car, it's over. So I'm like, I need to go to sleep. Just put me in bed. So she put me in bed, and I slept like 15 hours. And then I woke up, and I was like fucked up for like 3 days. I obviously was like, I got the worst food poisoning ever.
Yeah.
A whole year goes by, and I'm at the dispensary, and the light bulb goes off, and I look up, and I look at the thing, and I said to the girl, I was like, does that have THC in it? She goes, the olive oil? I go, yeah. She goes, oh yeah, a ton. And I go, you don't think that it should be a warning that there's THC in it? And she was like, why? I was like, I cooked with that like a year ago, and I was so sick for like 3 days. She was like, yeah, you're not supposed to use more than like 2 drops. I'm like, wonderful. I used like a gallon like this.
You got super mega high.
It was so horrific.
And by the way, that like, I'm so weak. That's just what you feel when you're high. And you know, at night when you're like, let's go to bed. And I'm like, I need 30 more minutes because I'm too weak.
Which I understand, but
you
I
just
also
got that times 80. And without knowing.
And throwing up. So when you throw up, you're already weak. No? And you're dehydrated.
Absolutely.
So I was already like, I wish, like you said from the beginning, had I known, then I would have been like, you're high. It's okay. You're high. But I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
And I just remember like thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die in the bathroom, on the floor in the bathroom. And Alejandro's going to come home and find me. Like, this is going to be so devastating for everyone around. Very
dramatic. I get it.
Again.
I get it. I would lose my shit if I was taking something and I didn't know that I was taking something. I get it.
But a whole year went by. And I didn't know. I thought it was like the gnarliest food poisoning humanly possible.
I remember when you found out, we were fucking dying laughing.
Oh my God, it was so
That was
traumatic.
incredible.
So I don't fuck with CBD, with THC.
Well, I appreciate you not caring about me smoking weed and giving me shit about it. So 2 thumbs up, sweetie. I love you for that.
I don't care. And I mean that in a like positive way.
What? Oh.
That I don't care
you.
that you smoke weed.
I got you. And after that wonderful story, people wonder, how have you guys been able to stay together for so long? So easy. What would you say? There's a lot of upside downs in every single relationship. Nothing is perfect. And you always got to work with each other to be able to advance forward. Mm-hmm. You can't just settle in the one way that you are at that time and just be like that and stick yourself to your old ways and never grow with the other person. And it's very important that you grow in parallel. How the fuck have we been able to do that, sweetie? How would you say that?
It's a big question.
Yeah. What do you think it's like, number one, what has worked through this whole thing so well, like that makes you still here?
Well, I knew.
Yeah, but I'm asking you. The double quick interview question.
I think we've been able to, we've been able to stay together because I think there's always been a lot of like honesty between us and respect, which I think respect is like one of the biggest things to have in any relationship in life.
Yeah, no question about it.
So I think we've always respected each other. And I think we've been able, like, we've always grown simultaneously with each other. And it wasn't one of us kind of behind.
Yeah.
And I think that was for us the key to our like relationship and marriage.
Yeah.
That we've been able to always kind of be like pretty aligned.
Yeah.
And not to say there hasn't been times, like I think for me, I think it was a huge realization when I like started really working on like the line, because I really understood. Let me backtrack. For I would say the first like 5 years, like I didn't, because I was styling, so I had such a more freelancy kind of like job, and obviously like you were the provider,
Yeah.
like, and I worked, but like you were the provider, and that was like our roles. And I think it's also important to like also like kind of establish your roles. Maybe it's old school, but I feel like you knew I would be the caretaker and I would take care of our home and contribute and work, but you were more the provider of like in that aspect.
Yeah.
So I think also knowing our roles was super important, but I think in the beginning also we were super young, but I didn't understand like when you were like, I can't go on vacation. I have to work. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I think for me, like I needed to catch up with you to understand like that.
Yeah, what a real responsibility in being an adult is like.
It wasn't so much work ethic, because like I've always had work ethic, but it was that. And then I did catch up with you, but I always allowed you to do what you needed to do, and always supported all these different venues and routes that you always took, which I think is a fair statement for me to say.
Yeah, until today. I mean, it's not easy to be in not in a relationship, because before you were just in the dark, you had no idea. And now I just opened the door to all the anxiety that it's like to be an entrepreneur,
wonderful.
right? It's fucking awful. Like there are some years where you're like, fuck, man, there's just so many millions of dollars jumping. And there's some other years where you're like, fuck, I'm harvesting, so I need to wait until money comes back. And then you have another great year. Like it's just an up and down.
Yeah.
It's never the same. So I never let you into the what's going on right here, what's going on right now, because I understand it's not for everyone, but also you were so far away from being ready for that at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. It's not easy to support and especially be in a relationship with someone that likes to change so much. Like people like security, right? People like, but at the same time, when we were together, I was just doing 2-3 things at the same time.
Right.
Real estate, movies, and some technology stuff.
Right. And I think that is the biggest difference between
That's
us.
all I was doing.
I think that is, and even till this day, the biggest difference in our personalities. Like security is like you just said, like some people are like more risk takers where I am not. And for me, it's exactly that. I'm more like I tread water. I'm super cautious, and I'm like, security is a huge thing. I actually just did this test yesterday. I might not be pronouncing this right. You're Enigma, is that right?
You're what? And you're facing Sergio when you're talking.
I thought, because I think he's going to know.
Enneagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enneagram?
Your number.
Yeah.
Yeah. You test. So do you want to explain what it is? I don't know how to explain it correctly, Sergio. So it's a test that you take, and it's a personality test.
So are you going to let Sergio explain it? Hang on. Just
I don't know there I am. Let me see my levels. There
that's pretty good.
I don't know too much about it. I have done it. My girlfriend's super into it.
What number are you?
I'm a 2. So
Okay,
I'm like
that makes total sense.
Like it's the service one. Like you just want to make people around you happy. You're a people pleaser. And I was a skeptic early on, but then you really dive into the psychology behind it and why certain traits link up to others and how you interact with others of different numbers, same numbers. It's pretty fascinating. I've never been one to believe in all that kind of stuff, but it really has like a psychological backing of why you are, why the person you are, why you react to certain things.
So this is a test that just basically puts you in a box according to whatever, and they're giving you a number as a name for your character and behaviors. That's true. I mean,
it's not a super definite box, which I appreciate, because I never like when people put themselves into a box and then
it's
judge
impossible.
everything they do based off of that box. But
because it's fluid.
So you should do it, but this won't be a surprise. But I'm a 6.
Okay.
And a 6 is the most nervous person who's always prepared. Like it asks you questions, and it's like, do you have a plan if everything goes wrong? I'm like, yes. Like, are you somebody who's always like expects the worst? I'm like, yes. So I was actually a 6 and an 8, and an 8 is a caretaker.
Okay.
Who always wants to take care of people, make sure they're secure, and like the first one to give a helping hand. I was like, it was middle. Your other numbers, like Sergio said, but like 6 was like the dominant one, meaning like, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's basically like you seek security.
Yeah.
And it talks about like with certain, like you'll lean towards certain other numbers in times of stress or in times of like relief. So when you're stressed, like how you are and then when you're in a relaxed state, how you are. So it's interesting.
It's cool. It's a cool test. You
definitely should take it.
By the way, that makes total sense what you're saying because it's true. People range
change
in those.
so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways, everyone should take the test.
Yeah. But also, when we started dating, even though that you accepted my way of living, which was completely different because, I was doing whatever the fuck I was doing. It became, I guess everything with the relationship just changed as we evolved, right? Because we changed completely. I saw that you were a little lost at the beginning of our relationship. Like you would basically cry almost every day, just like you don't know what you're doing and whatnot. And
I'm still pretty unstable, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was completely different.
You guys, I'm a crier. I'm an emotional person.
But that was different. That was
I was like 23, 24. I was so lost.
I understand. So that's what I'm saying. So at that point, I remember just thinking, how can I help in any way? Because I know what it's like. I know when. Well, no, I actually know that the trigger of that feeling for most people, because I've never had a chance to have it since I'm always doing something, is the fact that you don't feel a certain clarity in the direction your life is moving, and you're not being an active participant in it. So when you see those things, you're like, all I need to do is find her the way to what she's going to do, which is fashion. And I tried from the beginning with what's it called? With you working in the movies.
Yeah, with the wardrobe styling.
So, I mean, that's where it started. And then eventually I was able to even help a little bit further with start your own style, designing your clothing line.
Yeah.
And you did it for men and then you did it for women and all that stuff. But that was very important for me that you were able to find that own path that you created for yourself, which in a way you really didn't need me, but
I needed the guidance because it also goes, I mean, there's so many layers, but it came down also to insecurity.
Yeah.
And like not feeling like I had
what it takes in every way.
Yeah, like I doubted myself.
Yeah, which most people do.
And what was so weird for me and still is like I always had such cheerleaders and like supportive parents. And for some reason, like I always had doubt.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, completely normal. And even now I have days where I'm like.
No, by the way, 99% of people are like that.
Yeah.
It's weird that it's you meet someone that tells you, I'm going to do this. And then you turn around and they really go do it. Like it's really fucking weird to meet people like that. And I understand that. So being in a relationship to me was always what we needed to do was grow together. Not separately, because I see a lot of mistakes that people make is like, I'm going to go do this. Yeah. The guy like has his job and he's the provider. And then the wife is just staying at home. And I'm not saying that's not a real job. That's fucking hard as fuck. That's actually probably the hardest job in the world. But the mom at the same time starts after 5 years. Listen, the human mind only has a time span, like an attention span of like 5-7 years per thing that you're doing.
Right.
Before you get bored and you're like, I want to start doing this. And you start looking elsewhere. And then you can see it with doctors, right? Like there's doctors that are 40, 50 years old that are miserable, or 35 years old that are miserable doing that because they've been doing it for so long. They're bored. They want to do something else, but the money's so good and they get trapped. So a lot of people get trapped into many things. One is when you're with another person, you get trapped into the security of that other person doing everything for you, and you stop chasing your happiness. That is the equivalent to you being a daddy's boy that gets all the money from your dad and doesn't, and he doesn't make you want to go hustle for something.
You have no drive.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make you want to go hustle for something. And even though you meet these kids that have all the money in the world that are trying, to do business, all they're doing is just really like chatting and trying to make themselves feel like they're doing something because there's emptiness coming from within.
There's a void, of course.
Right? And that creates a lot of problems. So I definitely always was very
aware.
Not only aware, but I wanted to push you towards that. Like I never wanted you to just find yourself in a stale moment so that you could just start thinking about dumb shit that had no place in your head. Does that make sense? And that happens to all of us.
And I remember also in the beginning of our relationship, you telling me like, I can't remember what we were talking about, obviously, but I remember you saying like, I'll never tell you like not to work or chase something after you want to do. I remember specifically, we were at Laurel, I was in my office, and you were like, I always want you to have your own thing. Because even when we met, like I was so independent. And I remember you saying like, that's what, like you loved that about me, that I was very like entrepreneurial in a sense, but not like work wise, but I was like going to school and I was interning and I was always like busy. And you were always like, you always do that. Like you almost kind of like don't stop what you're doing because of me.
Yeah. The other thing I'd say to everyone is to make sure to never resent the other person for what's completely out of their control. Right? Like that's another big thing that I see in couples that just keeps growing as a problem between them. Like for one, let's say you couldn't have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to have kids. You can't resent that person for something they can't do, but people still do. Like people are married to, some guy that's making whatever money and then he doesn't have money. Then the wife is like, fuck this guy, I'm doing this. Then the other side of the coin is you get home and then dinner's not delicious. Dinner's not like what you expect. Your wife is not fucking ready for sex all the time when you want whatever it is. And then you start creating, like, don't have those expectations without them meeting a reality. Does that make sense? Because those fake expectations, those those things that you can't control, that the other person can't control, can create resentment inside of your relationship. That makes no sense. And we still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many people do it. And, there's always ups and downs in relationships. And, we've had all of them, whether it's emotional, whether it's financial, whether it's whatever you wanted. I mean, you go through it. But I think the most important thing is trusting that the other person is there for you and that you're there for them. And knowing that you'll be patient and you'll be more understandable, more understanding, right?
100%.
When you say, because, I mean, we've had some bad years where, we're not happy, where we're not on the same page, where it was like, why can't we go on a vacation? And, whatever it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a dumb example, but I'm just saying like, and that's not like a huge problem in a relationship, but.
No, babe, I mean, in so many other relationships, that's a huge problem. Like we have friends, we can't say from where because apparently some of our friends listen to this shit. Now I feel trapped, by the way. I don't like my friends listening to me talking about them when I'm not mentioning your names because now you're like, by the way.
I know you were talking about
I see my friends and they're like, by the way, I listened to Chats with Sweetie episode 3. I'm like, okay. He goes, I know you were talking about me. It's like, what? Listen. These are just experiences.
These are inspired stories.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're part of our lives. Fuck you. But there's a lot of people that do that to their. What was I saying? Damn it.
Me bringing up the example of a vacation.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that resent each other. Like, why can you go out with me? And it's like the dude has a weird job where he has to be there 24/7, dude.
But of course, but then also there's the layer of then, for us. Was me also helping you find a little bit more balance because there was like 5 years that we didn't do anything. And it was like, that also can't be life.
No. And at the same time,
you know what I mean?
And at the same time, that's one of the ones that like trapped me in one of the most difficult, I think, headspaces ever, which is when you're telling me that I was so bored because I was just making money. And I got to the point where I'm just making money.
But we weren't enjoying anything.
I know. And that's what I said. I said, I don't have a life. I do have like 2 cool cars and whatnot. I have money. I'm making more money. Like, what's next? And that's a big problem. Like hitting that fucking ceiling, which according to you, it's a ceiling because you can do so many other things. That was a big problem. So, I mean, I've had my rough patches too, and I need some guidance and I need like all of that stuff. What's that been like for you to deal with?
I mean, I think first of all, like I was trying to navigate a relationship too. I had never been in a serious relationship. So it was now looking back, like, I mean, it's so long ago, but like it was of course hard at the time because I was like, this isn't also what life is supposed to be. Like, and trying to really get you into the headspace of like understanding, like there has to be a little bit of play too. And I remember my mom always saying like, you will always, a good relationship, you will always be navigating it because you're constantly growing. And that has been really true for our almost 13-year relationship in March.
Yeah. It's like going on a road together in a car. You need to keep adjusting. Otherwise you're going to fall off the fucking cliff.
Right. Or then you just become complacent.
No. And then that causes misery.
Then that's misery. But, I think now the thing is too, we were both evolving and growing as individuals and as partners. So I think you had to do your own growth and I had to do my own growth too. But we were really lucky that we were doing it together, like side by side.
Yeah.
And now, like, even for you, when you look back, like, it's crazy to think like we were like the way we were.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no question about it. I mean, to me, it was, I remember, like, I think the hardest part of our relationship was when we lived at Laurel and we had just bought like the sports bar and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going on Sundays just to get fucked up and obliterated. One day I came back to the house. This is a terrible story, but it's pretty funny.
It's a horrible story.
I came back to the house and there was all these neighbors that were complaining about the houses getting nicer in the neighborhood. Like literally.
There were signs and they said no more
of these mansions built. Like, fuck you. Why not? That was my thought at the time. Fuck you. Why not? And they were just being more and more aggressive about it. It's like, dude, if you're not happy here because people are building nicer houses than yours, and that's not the point, just sell your house for a profit and leave. Like, you can go to a shitty place, or a place that has that style of more humble, smaller home elsewhere. It makes no sense for you to stay there and fight the new developers, because that's what progress is called. And nothing hits me harder than people like stopping progress in my veins and anything. And one day, and this is whatever, I'll finish the story and then I'll give you guys context. And this is one day I'd go to the sports bar that was like a mile and a half away from home. And I'd be there all day watching football so that my wife didn't have to put up with it. And I'd come home just wasted. And I just walk. So I was like, I'm good. I can just go there, drink, and then just come back. And one day I came back and
something triggered you.
It was definitely them, but it's also like obviously a big part of like not being happy with yourself. But definitely that night, aside from not being happy with myself, that those signs were staring at me like outside of our house, and I just fucking lost my shit and went outside and took my shirt off started yelling at the neighbors like, "You guys fucking get the fuck out of here if you don't like it, whatever." You
were psychotic.
Yeah,
it was.
I mean, I didn't do anything other than yell and scream with my shirt off. Reality.
But you were just like, it was, your behavior was just.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Completely inappropriate. Like, you've gotten into one of those, I don't know if you, Sergio, because you're too fucking good. But everybody
Sergio is too pure.
You have like the one day when your friend gets like really fucked up and he's like unbearable. That's who I was that day.
I cannot relate.
Oh, there you go.
Obviously,
Sergio,
you're too pure.
There you go. I have that one. And the reality of that is I was really miserable with that because, again, I'm coming from the same place that I was talking to about a second ago, where I feel like I got it all, but I don't have a life. Like I don't do anything else outside of just work. And all I'm good at is like at making these movies that I need to make 3 a year. And like, I can make them with my eyes closed, and it didn't feel challenging anymore.
You weren't being challenged. Yeah.
And this is a big part of what I don't like seeing other people do and other people go through. I hate when you get stuck in life and you think it's fine, because our parents, or at least our society, implanted in our brains that a perfect life goes like this. You were born, you go to school, then you go to college, you get out of college, you get married, you get a job, you stay in that job until you're 80, and you retire. And
you have the baby.
Then, you have the baby. You stay in that job until you're 80, your family leaves you, and then you fucking die. That's how everybody thinks like life works. And it's not true. It's pretty fucking hard these days to keep a job for like 10 years. Let's just talk about 10 years and how fast like people and businesses and disruption changes everything in every single industry, right? 10 years is, unless you work for Facebook and you were there from the start, there's not a lot of companies that have been around for that long.
Yeah.
So everything has changed. And a lot of people still and I meet a lot of people, I get trapped, and a lot of people, and I love this when people reach out to me for this, because they're like, dude, I work at this massive company and I'm already at the top position in my game. I feel like I'm not growing. What can I do? Because that to me is a very brave move. Because the easy move is for you to be miserable and stay there being a pussy and not admitting that you need to go on and try a new thing. And this is something that also complicates our relationship at the same time, because I am like that. And I'm fully aware and I totally embrace who I am. I go out there and I try to do as much as I can. And, it starts with, how many fucking things have we done?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, how many things have we done?
So many.
And people, not a lot of people put a lot of respect into like...
Respect.
Yeah, not a lot of people put a lot of respect into really living, they're all putting respect into the final payout.
Yeah.
Which is really fucking stupid. Like, we're all aspiring to like have boats and yachts and like that's just boats and hoes and all of that good stuff. But no one wants to enjoy getting to have those things. No one wants to enjoy the process. I'm one of those idiots that likes it. I like to go out there and try new things and get myself into new worlds and learn as much as possible from everything.
But in that particular moment in your life when that incident happened, you weren't.
No, I didn't have the balls because money traps you, babe.
Of course it does.
There are times, and this has happened to me 3 times in my life. There are times where the money traps you. That was one of them. That was like the movies was a really bad one for me because I didn't want to go and do anything else, but I hated it.
Yeah.
At the end, I hated it. For 2 years, I was telling Rod, I was like, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I just started getting more and more jobs. You're like, how can I fucking leave this? Like, it's paying me so well. People would die to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my last movies that I put together, all I had to do was literally 2 phone calls. My friend that calls me, that's a director and a writer, and goes, I want to make movies. I was like, how many movies do you have written? He gave me like all the movies that he had written. We narrow it down to 3. I call a distributor and I said, hey, dude, I want to do these type of movies with this guy. Finance the whole thing. All I had to do was 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
Like I was at a really good space, at a really good place for who I was. But it wasn't challenging anymore. It wasn't like, it was too easy.
It wasn't fulfilling you.
That's what I'm saying. And a lot of people stay in those situations and they don't evolve. They don't respect the fact that you have to go through life finding yourself as who you are at that time. And if you can't do that for yourself, and if you can't do that for yourself, you're never going to do it for the other person. And you're never going to understand where the other side's coming from because the other side's never going to stay the same either. You know what I mean?
Well, of course.
And that's what I'm getting at. It's not you, Belen, the stylist that used to dress up celebrities back in the day. Like this is a completely different Belen right now that I'm talking to. This is Belen, the entrepreneur that has her clothing line.
2.0.
Yeah, you know how to manage your shit. This is Belen, I don't know how many .0s. You know what I mean? Like I was not the same one. When I started my YouTube channels, I was just like off retirement and I was in real estate.
Yeah.
And right now I'm a fucking full, like legit, I feel like an entrepreneur with several brands. Like
several.
Yeah.
Many.
Yeah. Good success around the
Great
important
success.
ones. Yeah. And we're on our way for something really, really special right now. I'm not the same guy I was 5 years ago.
That was more than 5 years ago, babe.
6 years ago.
7 years ago.
No, when I retired was 6 years ago. So I was 30.
Actually, yeah, it was 6 years ago because it's almost our wedding anniversary. Because I remember when you got home that night, I was like, I'm not dealing with this. And
so how'd you deal with it?
I remember you came in and I was pretty devastated at just like the space you were in because you were angry.
Yeah.
But you were really emotional.
Yeah.
And I just remember I woke up the next morning and I was like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, I will not like go into, we were getting married like in 4 months because it happened around like November or December. I remember it was cold and it was football. So it was definitely around that time. And I remember, I remember telling you like, you have got to get like control of like whatever you're dealing with and like the alcohol, because it's not like, obviously it's not like you were like an alcoholic, but like something was triggering you when you would go specifically there too on set. And it was also like, it was the brown liquor. You were drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking like, it's such a toxic environment. And I didn't want that not only for our relationship and our future marriage, but for yourself. And I remember whatever happened to you that day shook you. Because you were like, I don't want to be like this anymore. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of like more when you kind of started gearing towards weed.
Yep.
And it was, I wouldn't say it was like a turning point in our relationship, but I think for you it was a huge turning point because you saw like how devastated it was for me to see you like that. And also like, I didn't want that to be our relationship.
How do you know that got fixed?
How do I know?
Yeah. Like after you saw me like get so angry at the neighbors for nothing, and you were like, oh, I definitely don't want this. How did you see me do some progress? How did you feel like I was progressing rather than, oh, he's not doing anything?
because I remember you saying like, I'm not going to drink like that anymore. And the one thing that you always do is like, you keep your word in that sense. Like if you say like, I'm not doing that, like you were done. It was like when you were smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
You were just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I obviously can't remember specific details, but I remember you also saw like the fear in me too, because I was just like,
how can he be so angry?
Yeah. And I was just like, and why do you want to be this angry? You know, because you had so much good going on. I mean, like you said, like, you know, obviously money was amazing and
But
like we were about to get married, but you were so unhappy at the same time. But there was nothing I could, like, that was something that you had to sort out. But I think you seen me so like devastated over it. Like, obviously that shook you too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why you see, you try to avoid these things. You try to avoid, like now I actively try to avoid to get ever close to that. Because I want to say ever since I've been
100%.
pretty fucking golden.
No, but that was like, again, it's not like it was a breaking point, but it was it was a low for you in the sense that like you just said, like, but it wasn't the signs.
Yeah, no, that's a lesson I want to show. I want to pass on to everybody. That's what I want to pass on to you. I got to that point, and a lot of people get to that point because of exactly what you said. I didn't understand what was wrong. You were doing so well. You had it all. We were getting married. Yeah, but I wasn't challenged anymore. I wasn't really growing anymore. Society-wise, I was getting points because I'm getting married and all that shit, but I'm not growing. I'm not doing anything that's challenging me.
You were very unfulfilled.
And as I am, because now I know and I own up to this. I'm one of those people that has to be fucking poked at and challenged every single time. I can't have things be too easy. The same thing with YouTube. Once things got too easy, I was like, I need to change this up.
I can give you a list of things to keep you busy all day.
No, I know. The busy is different, you know? So I wanted to do some fulfilling stuff. I wanted to do something that at the time, it felt right. And I've been doing that. And ever since, you know, not everything goes up all the time. Not everything goes down all the time. Not everything gets medium all the time. It's just like a bunch of surprises in all senses because I'm just following whatever I feel like I need to do, whatever the challenge is. Like right now, we have the biggest challenge in the world with Aileron, right? That you get to build a company that's so big, but it's worth nothing until you sell, right? Until you get that money, until someone actually says, like, your company can be worth $150 million. But until someone cuts you a check that shows you that, anything is up in the air. And right now, that is the biggest challenge I have in front of me, for example, that I'm staring at it. And I'm like, all right, this is something I want to take on because I've never had a challenge this big before.
Yeah.
I've never had to do this before. So I'm finding my rhythm into new things that I love and that challenge me and that give me.
Well, that's also
like that get me to be me. I get to talk to my boys. Like I talk to people on the phone all the time now, and I'm learning new ways of doing what we're doing. I love that. I'm one of those guys, and I said it. You said it. You were like, you can't retire. You always need to be working. It's not really working. It's growing. It's really pushing myself.
It's evolving.
Yeah, it's pushing myself every single time. And I do believe 100% that needs to go both ways. It has to be on your side. It has to be on mine. And because we have done that with each other, we've been able to stay together for this long. Mm-hmm. Right? Wouldn't you say that?
100%. That's what I said from the beginning. The respect and the growing together and allowing each other to grow, to be and to explore and do all of these, go down these different ventures.
So tell me, sweetie, after all of that, how did we wait? Why did we wait 7 years to get married?
Well, I mean, you waited a lot.
I did?
To propose.
So you were ready right away, or what? What's the deal? What's your version of the story? Because every story has two versions.
Well, first of all,
your lies and mine and the truth.
When we first met, you wanted to propose to me like 3 months into dating.
I was busy with paperwork.
I remember having a conversation with you. I feel like around like year 4 or 5. And I remember you saying like you wanted to be financially stable. And I remember thinking, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, because, you were buying your cars and you were doing all these things. And I was like, why can't he go buy me a ring and have a wedding? And now when I look back, I understand like what you meant. But at the time, I was like, all of my friends are getting engaged that have been with their boyfriends less time.
How'd that work out?
They're still together with them.
Not a lot of them.
And, but it's funny because now when I look back, like, I don't know if you think this, but I think to myself, God, we were so young when we got married. And we weren't. I mean, we were 31, 31.
I wasn't.
But it's, what?
I don't mean it in a bad way. I wasn't. I just had, like, you became an adult and, like, all of that stuff
Let
later.
me finish my sentence.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Oof. I can feel the fire. Go on.
You're so annoying. I meant more so, like, we could have gotten married 2 years ago because we're even more established.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Because you seem a little confused about me.
No,
making
I
that
understand.
statement. That's why I said when I look back, it feels like we were so young, where I think like we could have gotten married at 35 and it would have been even more epic because we're even more like grown up and established.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. To me, it was that. It was, I didn't want to make the same mistake that everybody else was making, right? Like everybody wanted to get married instantly. They get out of school and they're like, oh, I'm married. Now I'm going to college and I'm married. Or I just finished college and I'm married. Now I'm thinking about having kids. It's like, don't you need to get a fucking job first so you can actually pay for that kid? Because, man, having kids is expensive as fuck, right? Like, it looks like I would never be able to afford a kid. It really does look like that. So I was like, I'm not going to put myself in debt. That's crazy. What I'm going to do first is eliminate the first problem that every couple fights for, or at least that I'm aware that fights for, which is money. I'm going to get that shit straight. And my problem with you at that time when you were like, why are we not getting married? It was simple. I needed to find that, like, I needed to come to terms with the idea that I was not a guy that was going to stay doing the same thing all of his life. Mm-hmm. And all of the risks and all of the fear that comes with that, right? Because no one understands what this is like. No one knows what it's like to be an entrepreneur and really like not get bored with the shit that you're doing. Like just trying new things and going for it. But it also has like the two sides of the coin, right? Like Elon Musk was living in his fucking office after PayPal when he got like hundreds of millions of dollars because he put it all back into this. Yeah. Not everybody lives like that.
Right.
So to me I don't want to have the complaints about why are we not doing well right now when I know we're going to be doing well later. So I said, I'm going to wait until I find like something that I can see a future. And to me, that was real estate. When we started doing really well in real estate, I was like, oh, this might be it. So that's when I felt like, okay, now we can get married.
Yeah. So we got engaged 6 years into dating and married on our 7th year.
That's right, sweetie.
And it's our 6-year wedding anniversary this year.
That's right.
So wild.
Still no regrets, huh?
Yeah.
By the way, you want to tell people how we got married?
Where?
How? Where?
Sure.
Like, how'd you come up with that? Like, how we come up with that? What was the story?
Well, you proposed at home.
Yeah.
With the dogs.
Yeah.
And then we got married in Rome. Mm-hmm. Well, we got married on the seaside of Rome in Ladispoli, which is about 45 minutes outside of Rome. And we got married in Rome because that's where we went. That was our first trip.
That's right.
So it was so epic.
Yeah.
It was the best. Because a destination wedding is, of course, amazing if you can do it, but it's even more amazing because it's not one day. It's like 4.
Yeah.
You know, people come into town, people are on vacation, people are relaxed. So it was like 4 days of us just like being with like our closest friends. We had 42 guests, which was amazing.
Yeah, total.
And
yeah, we didn't have to invite anyone because we felt like, oh, this person has to come.
Also,
like, everybody
we were throwing the wedding as adults. So it's like we didn't have pressure of like having to invite so-and-so's.
Oh, yeah, the uncle.
So-and-so. Yeah,
the racist grandfather or whoever.
By the way, we don't have any of that anyway. So we are lucky. But we got married exactly a year after you proposed, right around our anniversary. And yeah, it was in Rome and it was amazing.
Yeah, I'd say to everyone that's getting married, don't fall into the pressure of making a big wedding. By the way, I'm going to take another break to address this because it's a real big problem. I get a lot of messages, like more than ever, from people asking me for money. And 2 things. I'm going to make a joke. This is a joke. I miss the times when homeless people would ask me for like $2 or like $1. Right now, people message me begging for money for like $5,000, $100,000, millions of dollars, like a computer, $3,000 to pay their college. Like, I miss the good old times when the homeless guy would just like knock on my window and spit at me if I didn't give him $2. Like, this is crazy now.
This is a new level.
This is a whole new level. But now, everybody that's messaging me, everybody that's like, I don't have any money, I'm in debt, I owe this guy $100,000, and if I don't pay him by Tuesday, he's going to kill me. Can you loan me the money? I promise you I'll pay you. Well, if that guy's going to kill you and you're not paying the money back, I don't think you're going to pay me if I'm not going to kill you, right? Like, that's another problem right there. So you're telling me the problem. Anyways, here's the bottom issue right there. Everybody that's asking me for money is like, I'm married and I don't know how many sons. Well, it sounds like you fucked up, buddy. You should have had your life together before you did that. And I say that with the most love in the world, guys. The way our parents raised us and the way they grew up with the fucking stupidity that they were taught, good for them. We are a new generation. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
You can just take care of your own self, because once you're able to stand strong, you can do anything rather than just fucking floating down that river and seeing where you hit your head with. Like, because it's fucking, you're handicapping your life.
No, I agree. I think being financially stable is really important. And same thing with kids. Like, we have friends who had kids later in, like, not later in life, but like in their later 30s.
Yeah, once they were established.
Because they wanted to be established. And I think that goes the same thing with getting married. It's like, why put that pressure and that strain on not only yourself, but on your marriage because you want a wedding?
Yeah, you don't start a business by going to a guy that will kill you in 2 weeks if you don't get the money back. You don't do that kind of pressure on yourself or on the business. You don't put the same type of pressure on your other significant other or on your kids, because that pressure comes instantly attached to that.
Yeah.
So be smart. Don't fucking get married if you don't have.
No, I think,
honestly, just wait. It's fine. It's fine.
And again, to go back what I first said in the beginning, now when I look back and I think we could have even waited another 5 years.
Yeah.
Because we're even more established and more.
But now you see it. You were also on the other side where we were like, what's going on? But now as an adult, through life and experience, now we understand that was right. That was the right decision to make.
Yeah. And even so, we could have even waited longer.
That's right. So. That's right, sweetie. And I want to leave on that great note. I'm not going to get into the dog one because you're going to get mad at me. And I just want to talk about having pets in a relationship and different needs. So probably we'll talk about it next episode.
Why?
But until then, no, because I think we've gone over 55 minutes. Do we have time?
We got a few minutes.
We got a few minutes. Sweetie, let me ask you something so you can get really mad at me. Having pets in a relationship is never easy. What's been the hardest, most difficult part for you about having pets with me?
Losing them.
Well, that's awful just in general for all pets. No question about it. But with another person, babe.
I mean, I don't really have anything really negative to say. It's definitely you're the one who has negative things to say about me and how I raise the dog. So
it's not that. It's not. So here, I just so that everybody understands.
I think you're a great pet parent.
Just so that everybody understands. Just so that everybody understands. And you are too. We have had 3 dogs together. 2 of them have passed away. And we still have Fiona. Fiona's like an older lady. And we have Tata, but Tata's my squirrel. And then we have the turtles who don't fucking give a shit about us. But with Fiona, she's a great dog. Like, all of our dogs were great dogs. But we come from different type of mentalities when it comes to dogs. And I think this matters really in relationships too, a lot more than what people think. I think it's important that whenever someone gets a dog or any kind of pet, you guys talk about your goals with the animal and really stay lean and really stay on whatever side that you're saying that you're going to go.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, I love that we have Fiona and that she's so well behaved and that she's an incredible dog, but I'm a guy that likes rules. I'm a guy that likes knowing, because I know, as someone who grew up, like I told you in the last episode, that I train a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I trained a couple dogs and whatnot. And
the mental thing.
Yes, but other than that, like training dogs and how amazing dogs are and how well balanced they are when they live like dogs. And I don't mean like they're going to be outside and you're never going to love them or anything like that.
Obviously.
But they need to have rules. There needs to be limits to all of their shit, because otherwise, within the dog, there's problems that are created for those reasons. Like with Fiona, when I went to rescue Fiona, Belen and I were celebrating our anniversary. What were we celebrating? No, it was
Memorial Weekend.
Memorial Weekend. And I took my computer with me, and we were
wine tasting.
We were wine tasting, and Belen was like, "Don't bring your computer with you." I was like, "You pass out at 8 p.m. I'm gonna bring my computer because I'm gonna have nothing to do after 8 p.m." And she's like, "Fine." So I brought my computer, and we support a lot of rescue groups. So we were thinking about getting a pit bull, and it had been a while that we were like, we're gonna find the right dog and whatnot. And we had tried with a couple, didn't work out. And while we were there, I saw a profile on Fiona and this group that I
on Facebook.
Yeah, that I was following on Facebook posted. And there was something about Fiona that whatever. I told Belen, look at this dog, and Belen's like, oh my God, she's horrible looking.
I did.
She's like,
ironically, she was wearing a bandana.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The photos they took of her, you guys, were, you have to admit, they took the worst photos humanly possible of her.
But I thought Fiona was beautiful, and there was something about her smile that I was like, I don't care what it is, I need to go. So I told him, hey, I'm gonna go tomorrow and check out the dog. So I had to drive from the city to Fiona for 2 hours to go get her. And when I went to meet her, the woman that was in charge of her said, she's really bad on the leash. She doesn't know how to walk on the leash. She doesn't know how how personal space works. She doesn't know how to be in a car without jumping on you. She doesn't know anything. She's
a mess.
Yeah, she's a mess. I was like, all right, sounds great. Give me the leash. So I put her on a leash, and immediately she started pulling me everywhere. So I grabbed her, and I just put her next to me, because a dog will let you do. A dog will do whatever you let him do or let her do. That's a fact. The dog is testing you the moment you put that leash on him. And that's a reality. That's a real part of mentality. So it's important to understand mentality. So the dog instantly tries to go like, you're not my boss, bitch. I'm going to walk around. I was like, nah, come here. I put her next to me, and I made her stand right here. I was like, let's go. And I walked. And when I walked, I instantly knew. She dropped right next to me. She was looking at me like every certain steps. I was like, this dog is fully trained. I got to the corner, and I was like, sit. Fiona sat. I was like, down. Fiona went down.
She's such a good girl.
And then I told her, like, come here. And she just came and gave me kisses. And I made a video, and I sent it to you. And I said, this dog is the sweetest dog in the world. And I don't care if she eats babies. She's coming back with me. So I drove back 2 hours to go get your truck, and 2 hours back. So listen to the story is that lady had no idea of what the dog was like. Mm-hmm. I understood that because I pay attention to behavior. I do. Like I'm a mental game type of guy. I need to understand what's going on the other side so that I can know how to be at your level. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I can't just be at my level all the time because it's too much.
Thank God.
Yeah. And no one should. So with the dogs are always pushing to see what your limit is. And Fiona is a very smart dog, like incredibly smart. Zoe would push her around like crazy, and I couldn't do anything because I was like, Zoe, stop pissing here. Like I would turn around in the middle of the living room. I would be watching TV, just like la 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 la, and then turn around, and there was like a shit in the middle of the living room, and it had been there for hours. And I was like, Zoe, what are you doing? She would look at me like, what the fuck are you gonna do, bitch? And it just gets me because I know the dog is thinking, what are you gonna do? And they are. I know you think I'm crazy, and they are. So when we take Fiona out and all that stuff, and we let her be how she is, and we let her, because she's adorable, I get it, and we let her sleep on our bed, and we don't like put those boundaries on where we don't let her just be 100% her, the one saying, this is the pace we're going at, because she's 100% dictating it. It's not a coincidence. It's not like she's too cute and whatever. The dog is fucking smart, and she's telling you, this is how we're going to do this. That problem creates within the dog more problems because you want to have more dogs, right?
I'm ready.
I want to have more dogs, but Fiona's not ready. Remember when I told you, don't put Fiona and Jack together. Fiona's not going to like him. And what was the first thing Fiona did when Jack was in front of her?
That was also a huge mistake you made by the way you entered it. But
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
It doesn't matter how you look at it. I'm the guy who trained dogs before. I told you that before. We put the dogs together.
Caesar Milan, okay? You also made a mistake.
By the way,
that.
it might be a Mexican thing. My name is Alejandro Salomon, and I am the dog whisperer.
You're not.
I am. Whether you like it or not, I know how these dogs behave, and I know what they need. And I'm telling you, if Fiona had the structure that was implemented throughout all of her life, she would be fine. She can be and have another dog, and I want to have another dog. But the problem is, if the dogs are going to be the way they are because they're cute, and I myself don't feel great about, number one, Fiona's in no space whatsoever to have another dog in the house. She won't. I promise you, it's not going to be positive because she's not there. Right now, she's everything. She knows. She runs the house. She sleeps in our bed. She tells us.
We've also been home straight for a year.
She wakes us up in the morning when she's hungry. She wakes up and goes up to Belen
and
gives her kisses until she wakes up and then starts barking for her to get the fuck up and go feed her. The dog, for 3 years when we had her, we thought she was mute. She didn't make a noise. She was
intimidated by Zoe.
She was just like this.
My pretty, she's blossomed now.
She's blossomed to the point where she's barking all day now, asking for shit. Like every time I walk by the kitchen, she looks at me and starts barking, like, "Go get me a treat, bitch." I'm like, "What? What?" And here's the last point. I approach this, and it's a really hard thing to approach between us because you look at it like I'm giving you shit, and I want to have more dogs. I want this to really work so I can have more dogs because I love dogs.
I'm sorry, it just sounds funny.
I want more dogs, and I need Fiona to be ready to be another, like just not just another dog,
okay, well,
but
Rustic
another dog.
will be a new dog when we get to Texas. But between now and Texas, there's nothing happening. I'm telling you that now. But on that note, I will say, like, you also, like, you have to step it up too with the responsibilities with the animals.
That's no problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
My problem is Fiona doesn't want to go out on walks with me because I tell her what to do. She stops. She now stops. I take her out and she's like, I used to take her out for runs.
You took her out for runs 9 years ago.
And now she stops like dead on her tracks. She doesn't want to come with me. She straight up goes like, nope, I'm not walking with you because you're going to make me walk. And she goes back to this. So all I'm saying is, I think it's very important for people to be on the same page as to what their goals are with their pets, whether it's a dog, whether it's a cat, whether it's a bird, whatever it is, and how they're going to raise it and what their future plans with other dogs, other pets could be. Because I think it's important. It really is. Because I hate bringing it up because I feel like you take it personally, but I'm not. I want to have more dogs. Yeah. And we just need to do it right. Right?
Right.
So we can get more.
I think it's also important to like say that when we met, we already had our own dogs.
Yeah.
So it's not like we bought or adopted our dogs together. We got Fiona like
together,
but with our other dogs already kind of having different boundaries. And I will say Bella was the greatest dog of all time. Like she was independent. She wasn't needy. She was very well balanced. But I'm just, for context, like I had my dog, you had your dog, we had both of them, and then we got Fiona. And then Z passed away, and then Fiona got more confidence, and now she's the only dog. I'm just saying, like you're saying, raising dogs together, our situation is unique because we entered the relationship with our own dogs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going into it, but I think it's at the same time, because again, it drove me nuts that we treated the dogs differently. Just make sure you're on the same parenting page. Like, it's not good to be the good father and the bad father. Like, I hate it. Like, oh, let me give you treats, whatever. Oh, now it's time for you to do something that you hate. Alejandro, tell Zoe to go do it. I would come back from a trip. Belen, the back doors of the house would open. Bella and Fiona would come out storming, whatnot. Even the fucking fish that were in the pond were like, oh, Alejandro. Zoe would walk out, look at me, and go back inside.
Even till the day she took her last breath.
That's what I'm saying. Because
good girl.
Yeah, my good girl. Because she told her she gave her all of the nice things that she loved. And whenever she needed discipline, it was on me. It's not fair. We're both supposed to be looked at equally by the animal.
Well, Zoe and Bella are not here to give statements, so.
I'm going to brief you on the next episode of Chats with Sweetie.
Joseph cry the whole time.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to this episode, Sweetie?
No.
No? That's it. Sergio, anything else you want to add to this episode? All right, everybody. That was Chats with Sweetie. Thank you very much for listening to episode number 7.
7.
Holy shit. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.
Adios.